Hi everyone, welcome back to Box Delights. I'm Ricky Royal and this is 1565 St Elmo's Pay. This is Tristan Hall's follow-up to 1066 Tears to Many Mothers. You would have seen me play this game already on the channel. St Elmo's Pay is basically a retheme. There's a few subtle differences with what's on the cards, a little bit of logic change to the AI, but nothing significant. It's going to look and feel exactly the same. What's good about this is it gives you a different arena to play in. We're 500 years later in terms of history, so we've got different armor, we've got cannon, we've got galleons, ships. Actually, let me give you a little bit of background to this game and its setting, the Great Siege of Malta. The Siege of Malta was a turning point in the ongoing contest between the Christian Alliance and the Ottoman Empire, the Islamic Ottomans, who since the Crusades really in the 13th century have been fighting for control of the Mediterranean. Sitting smack bang in the middle of the Mediterranean between east and west, lodged between the foot of Italy and Tunisia, is Malta. It's a strategic hotpoint between the east and west Mediterraneans. Both sides understood the importance of this island fort. The Sultan of the Ottomans, Solomon, saw victory at Rhodes and pushed the Knights Hospitaller back to Malta, which became their stronghold. The Grand Master of the Knights, or the Order of St. John, is De Valette, who fought with distinction against the Turks at Rhodes, a Frenchman who was glorious in his defeat. Suleiman wants to eradicate the Knights, and Malta is the key. But he won't be there himself. Instead, he's going to send 3 of his best commanders. Dragut, who's been referred to as the greatest pirate warrior of all time, whose release was traded from captivity in Genoa, and he's been looting, pillaging Italian cities and North Africa. In addition, Piale Pasha, commander of the Ottoman Navy, and Mustafa Pasha, commander of the land forces. Mustafa is going to take the lead in the siege of Malta. There's a lot of conflict between these commanders. Not having a single commander created a lot of tension. In Malta was a grand harbour, and the Ottomans sailed into this harbour, surrounded by mountains. There were 3 forts guarding the harbour. There was St Elmo's up here like this. There was Fort St Angelo, where Valette was holed up. Here in Berga, then there was another little harbour here, across from which was Fort St Michael and Sanglia. Piale Pasha went this way up onto the mountains overlooking St Elmo. Mustafa up here on Santa Margherita overlooking Sanglia. And they've got their cannons trained on these forts. Between these 2 forts, in this dockyard here, they could keep each other supported, and also ferrying back and forth between St Angelo and St Elmo. Dragut came later and sailed in to support the assault on St Elmo. They thought they were going to take this quickly, but they didn't. It took a month. And the Order of St John, the Knights, held out here at St Elmo famously to the last man until St Elmo finally fell. And during this struggle, Turgot himself was killed. But such was the resolve of the heavily outnumbered knights that they held on long enough. And that's the critical point, holding on to St Elmo for such a long time. And casualties were heavy until eventually the Spanish relief came to the Christian Alliance and the Ottomans retreated, ultimately defeated. You might say that this battle really changed the direction of things in the Mediterranean and triggered the demise of the Ottoman Empire. We're going to try and rewrite history. We're going to take on the role of the Ottomans and see if we can't defeat Malta, we've got to do more than what they did originally. We don't want to just take St Elmo. We want to take at least 2 out of the 3 forts. We're going to be playing solo against the game, and the game is going to then take on the role of the Order of St John. They're trying to defend and control 2 out of 3 of these forts. Our commander is Mustafa. These are the characters are going to get shuffled in to our deck. We'll be first player in this game. We choose where to place our leader, and I think we're going to do what they did and start up against St Elmo. The solo rules tell us that Valette begins here in the middle with galley slaves in row 1, and then the character Francisco Balbi de Correggio in position 2, Valette here in position 3. We've got our objective deck set up with A on top. So objective A for us is coming out of the Siege of Rhodes. And for the knights we've got Durgot raiding Gozo. We're having to deal with that. Alright, so that's the AI, that's not us. Okay. If you've seen my 1066 video, Tears to Many Mothers, you'll know the rules. I'll touch on them briefly, but we know what our objective is. This is a card game. We're going to be playing 3 columns, 3 rows of cards to amass our forces to try and take these things down, but we can't get to the Siege of Malta and start taking these forts until we complete each of these objectives. We're going to be using our cards to do so. If either player loses their leader on the way to the Siege of Malta, then they'll immediately lose the game. We'll draw 4 cards to start the game. That becomes our starting hand. You do have a chance to mulligan if you wish, which I'm going to do. Shuffle that in. We've got 1, 2, 3 events and 1 expensive unit. I don't want to see that. I'm kind of hoping for some characters that actually give me more resources. Okay, let's see what we get this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, still some expensive stuff, but now I've got to stick with this. Galleys are good. The first phase of the game now is to draw 2 cards anyway, so we're going to go up to 6 cards. Let's see what we get. The key to this game is going to be managing your resources. And for the solo game, that might also mean controlling the opponent's resources. They've got this dial here that helps you manage what's what. So we're going to set this to game round number 1. And I think we're going to play on hard level. Okay. So they've got -1 resources for the start of the game. They can't really have less than 0, so -1 is equivalent to 0. But you also add resources from their units. This green rosette here says this adds 1 resource to the knights pool. So they've got -1, +1, 0, 0 resources. And what we'll see is there's actually 3 cards in this deck that have 0 cost on them. We've got there's 2 units, some swimmers, some knight swimmers that are able to swim between these forts. I think they've got a tactic as well. I can't remember what it is. We'll probably see it when it comes out. There's a tactic here that soaks up damage, I think. Right. We've got galleys here, which gives me resources, but they're very expensive. So the other way to pay this cost, so this is going to cost me 4 to put into play, is to discard cards. So I think I've got a choice, really. These heavy-wheeled guns are good. So is Omar, and these 3 I can probably afford to lose. I'm getting rid of a lot of cards. If you spend a lot of cards in your turn, what that means is you're not going to be able to do stuff. Potentially your next turn is going to be very short as well, because you're only drawing 2 cards each time. So drawing 2 cards each time means it's going to take me 2 turns to pull back enough cards to pay for galleys. But if I put it in now, I could potentially play Omar next time. So why don't I do that? Why don't I pay these 4 cards, keep this in my hand, that pays the cost for the galleys. Although it's not the best place to do it, it might be better further back. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Not just yet. I like it, but I might just put Omar in first and get rid of... Yeah, let's do this instead. I'll save the galleys. Maybe something better will come out next time. Let's put Omar in, so it's going to cost me 3. 1, 2, 3. I like this card. I like this card a lot. just destroy one enemy with zeal 0. This enemy has 0, 0, so I could destroy it, but I don't want to. If I destroy this weak unit, it'll only put a stronger one in its place, so I'm quite happy to leave it there. Let's play this cost of 3. These get discarded, and put Oma in here. It says when played, it has Marksman Elite. Destroy one non-leader enemy. We're going to destroy this one here. We can't destroy the leader. We can destroy Francisco. That gets rid of this. I'm happy with that. It's a high cost card, so it's going to be a little while before it comes back out again. And what it means now is he's stuck on 0 resources for a little while. Now in a normal 2-player games these would shuffle forward, but they don't in this game, they just stay where they are. So we have a gap in the column. Now remember, thematically we're still here at the Siege of Rhodes, and also we've got Turgot doing raids on Gozo. So it is possible. At the moment, this assemblage of forces, although they're not facing each other in Malta, they're on their way. They're still at these locations. And that's why we're still able, thematically, to do damage to these assembling units, because we're encountering them at different places on the way to Malta. Alright, we're hacking away at their troops in various little skirmishes, battles, some big battles, before we get there. Alright, make sense? It's only once we arrive at Malta, which is when we get through to Objective G, the Great Siege of Malta, when we can actually start doing damage to these 3 fronts. Right, we've taken a turn. Now it's the turn of the knights. So they're just going to keep drawing till we hit a 0 cost card. Okay, everything else is going in the discard pile. There it is. Stout armor. So stout armor is a tactic. So it says response: when a unit or character is dealt damage, prevent 1 of that damage. And this will work. Normally response effects don't apply in the solo game, but it says solo, do this, okay? And you do it as soon as you can when a unit is dealt damage. So that's going off to the side here. And yeah, that makes a problem for my heavy wheeled guns. You see, if I could have put these in. Deal 1 damage to this card and every enemy in this card's frontier. So I could have actually started doing damage up there, and I might still do that. But it will prevent the galleys. So if I did deal 1 damage to an enemy up to 5 rows away, if I did that as an action, this thing would just keep stopping it. Okay. Oma was better. It allowed me to get rid of these things straight away. There you go. So I kind of knew that was coming. It may have been a couple of turns, but you don't know. It could come out first, it could come out second, it could come out third if the swimmers came out first. Anyway, there we go. So I know the swimmers are coming out next. They're going to go here and they're going to go here. But it's my turn and I really can't do anything, so I'm just going to pass. And at this point the enemy would use any ranged effects they could, and then it's going to play 1 more card and then end the round. Okay, so we're going to look for those swimmers. There we go. Alright, so they found a 0 cost card, the multi-swimmers. They don't really do anything. They're going to add a little bit of zeal and might. I'm happy for those guys to sit, clogging up the opponent's field, and it says that they place in this order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, they won't actually, because as soon as the enemy's field is full, they'll start replacing the lowest cost cards with higher cost cards. That concludes the deployment phase. Alternate playing deployment turns. Then we've got the frontier phase. We're not doing that. We've got the objective phase next. And that's where we look at these objectives. Objectives A just say this objective is destroyed automatically, and we move on to the next objective. So we'll do that for both players. The young Solomon throws the Knights of St. John from Rhodes after a prolonged siege similar to that of Malta. The siege ends with Solomon magnanimously allowing the surviving knights to leave the island with honour. So he had a little bit of honour in him. Now we're off to the nest of vipers, and this time we're going to have to do a little bit more damage. We're going to need might, and we're going to have to do 6 damage to that objective. So we'll see how that plays out. For now though, we're moving to the next round, so up to game round 2. The enemy's still on -1 resources, which with nothing here now Means they're still on 0. We're hoping to prolong that for at least another turn. Okay, let's draw 2 cards. We've got St. Elmo Bombardment and El Luke Ali, Governor of Alexandria. Now this one is good because it gives us a resource. Getting these down early is good. Or I could play the heavy guns. Or I could just hold on to this stuff and save it for next time. I could pass straight away. Which I think I might actually do. We know he's going to pull out his second swimmers. There they are. Now we move to the objective phase. The dwindling Order of St. John, having rehoused in Malta, spends many years warring with Ottoman ships travelling the Mediterranean. De Gut tells Solomon that Malta is a nest of vipers. We've got to start adding damage here. So we need 2 might. We'll look at all our ready characters. Mustafa Pasha has 3 might. Omar has 1 might, that's 4. Take away the 2 from here, leaves 2. That's 2 damage that we do to our objective. We need 6 on here to complete it. We have to get through all of these all the way before we get to the siege of Malta. Cool. Let's do the same for the enemy. They need zeal. 2 zeal, it says. I'm looking at their forces. They've got 1 here, that's 2, and 3 here, that's 5. So they've done better than us. 5 minus 2 is 3, so they're going to get 3 damage. They're making better progress despite our early gain. Okay, round 3. Now he's up to 0 resources, not -1, but still nothing more to add, so he's still on 0. There's nothing more for him to add as it goes, so this is cool. All the 0 cost cards are out. I'm going to do a little bit of a switcheroo on you here, because the solo rules say you can actually use, it's recommended but not required, that you use the advanced drafting variant. In this variant you draw 3 cards, not 2, at the start of your turn. Okay, so we're going to do that. We'll draw 3 cards. Put them in your hand and then you discard 1. It doesn't have to be one that you just drew. So I think let's discard this one. Now we've got plenty of resource generating cards. Which to play? I think I'm going to play this ally. I'm going to play him over here. It's going to cost me 2. I want to get these resources in, I really do. So let's play... man, do I really want to get both these in? I think I'm going to play with these 2. Okay, and it has a when played effect. When played, it's cunning. Tire 1 non-leader enemy in this card's frontier. So let's tire those swimmers. They won't be adding to the enemy's objective. Now the enemy's going to go. He's still got 0 resources, so he's going to go through the whole deck. That's going to go into the discard pile like so. You can just check. It gives you a chance to look at all their cards, but there's nothing left for 0. I know this because I played 4. And then this is just going to get reset and placed. So you don't shuffle it. Okay, just place it back here. And then it's back to me. So I could potentially get another card in. I could tire that for 1 resource and play 2 and put another one in. Do I let those galleys go? Painful decisions, team. No, I'm going to leave it. Let's see what comes out next time. It's tough. Okay, he's passing. He's got nothing more to play, so he's going to go through his deck and then reset it. Objectives. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -2 is 4. That's enough to complete this objective. He's got 1. Remember, he's looking at zeal, not might. 1, none here. This one's gone, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. -2 is only 2. So we've managed to prevent him completing his objective. Awesome. And this one says, solo, when destroyed, draw 1 card. Let's draw a card. Move up to round 4. Now he's got 1 resource. Reset everything. We've got 4 cards. There's a hand limit of 6, by the way. So if at this point I've got more than 6 cards, I'd have to discard down. Okay, but we're going to draw 3 and discard 1, as usual. This I like. Practical engineering. It costs 1. There's an event that says, as an action, play 1 artillery card for free. Action, deal 1 damage to every card on both sides in 1 frontier. Practical engineering might be good to keep. And what else did I draw? Candalista, a Christian renegade. Taiwan non-leader. That's a 0 cost card, so you can come in for free, which is quite nice. I think I'm going to get rid of the sappers. Yeah. Okay. Now our objective this time is a zeal objective. Turgot's Corsairs seem like a good choice. I also know, because the dummy player always cycles through his deck, I kind of know what's coming, because it's going to be a cost 1 card. And I think, if I remember rightly, it was an event. I can't remember what the second one was. I'm not going to look. I think it was an event that poisoned the waters. Yeah, this is one thing that they did the nights before the Ottomans arrived, is they poisoned all the wells, which kind of meant they were in for a long siege. I mean, Malta was just a rock with you know, all the farmers, all the people that worked the land, they brought in all their crops and they poisoned the wells. There was nothing for the Ottomans, and they were going to be suffering. And at one point, Mustafa took the Ottomans away from the forts at Senglia and Berger and actually tried to assault Medina inland, the idea being to winter there, but they were kind of running a bit scared at this point. So I've got to be careful, that's what I'm trying to say, I've got to be careful, and maybe I could use this as cannon fodder for that event, I don't know, but then it's valuable as resources. Too many decisions. It's great, you know what, I'm finding just the types of cards that they've built into this game, it does feel like a step up from 1066, a lot more decisions to be made. Oh, this is only my second game. Well, one thing's for sure, I don't need this guy's zeal, so I can tire it for its resource, which means I then can play this event, cost 1. There are 2 actions on here, but when you play an event from your hand, you execute an action, but it's just 1 action. So I can choose which one. Let's play 1 artillery card for free. This goes straight in our discard pile. So looking at our hand, I think we only got 1 artillery, haven't we? A galley is a range. Yeah. So it's the heavy wheeled guns we can put in for free. I can put them here. Yeah, and I think something bad's going to happen, but I can soak it up. I can soak it up using Mustafa or something like that. Let's see what happens. It's his turn, so we're looking for 1 cost cards. It's a good job we got rid of this one in the middle, you see, because now he'd be playing 2. There's this one here, wasn't it? Yeah. Otherwise he'd be playing 2 cost cards now instead. So. Right, that's a 3. Yeah, here we go. Poisoned Wells is an event action. Deal 1 damage to 1 enemy unit or character. Now, the rules tell us, so you have to look this up. When a foe's card is played, takes place immediately. Right, the foe always targets the player's bold artillery or range cards with damage abilities first. Otherwise, the player chooses which of their cards or frontiers to target. So he's going to target my artillery. So unfortunately, it's going to come in with 1 damage. So if I'd have done that in a different order, see, I even knew what was coming. I should have realised. Maybe if I had put this in first, he'd have damaged this, destroyed it, and then I could have put my artillery in. Yeah. Think ahead. Think ahead. Alright, so that's a shame. Now I don't know what he's going to bring out next, so this is going to be a bit of a surprise for me. But for my next action, I'm actually going to use my artillery. First, we tire the card, and it says deal 1 damage to this card and to every enemy in this card's frontier. So we tire it, and we can make this work to our advantage. So let's say I do the galley slaves first. They're then going to use their solo stout armour. When a unit or character is dealt damage, prevent that 1 damage. Okay. And then we can do 1 damage to their leader. Now this is a legitimate tactic to try and take down their leader before you even reach the siege of Malta. It's always worth a crack. The alternative is I save my heavy guns until we get there. But at this rate they're going to be destroyed pretty quickly. Next round. Okay, let's see what he does. They're looking for a cost 1 card. 4. Okay, here we go. It's an event. Human head bombardment. In response to the crucifixions of the Knights of St. Elmo, all the Turkish prisoners were slaughtered, and St. Angelo's guns fired their heads into the Ottoman camp. Yes, this is true. When St. Elmo was defeated, the Ottomans said they would release the remaining knights. Of course, they sent them floating back to St. Angelo dead, and this was the Order of St. John's response, firing decapitated heads back at the Ottomans. Deal 1 damage to 1 enemy unit, and we already know they want to take out our heavy-wheeled guns, so they're gone. That's 3 damage. Ouch. I really didn't get much use out of them after all the toying of shall I play them, when shall I play them. Yeah, they did me good and proper. Now I could get these guys in. I don't get much benefit from the 1 played. The snipers, even if I place them here, they've got range of 3 rows, and with their armour tired, they're still not good enough. 1, 2, 3. They're 4 away. I could put them in, then take an action, move Omar. See, the leader's got an ability that says move 1 Ottoman unit to a different frontier. He'd move forward, and then I could hit the leader. But that's 1, 2, 3 more turns. That's 3 more turns for him as well. Having Mustafa tired means he's not adding his 3 zeal to the objective. But then I do have a ranged attack on their leader. I kind of like having these 2 in combo as well. Tire, do 1 damage, get soaked up by the armour, then deal 1 damage, which goes through. Maybe that is a good thing to do. The thing is, to do this, I've got to throw away the galleys, so I need to wait. Let's wait. Right, we're going to pass. They're going to play 1 more card. And it is a unit. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going here. It's a Maltese militiaman. And it's got an agile action, which they always ignore in the solo game. It doesn't add any zeal. It does add 1 might. Okay, objectives then. I've got 3, 4 zeal. 4 zeal, just 4 zeal. I need to get past 2 here, so that's 2 damage. And he needs zeal. He's got 3, 4, 5. That's 3 damage to this one. He only needs to put 1 on it, so that's defeated. None of the other, the excess carries over, so there we go. He moves on to his next objective. Don Garcia reclaims Penon de Velez, February 1564. This one is a might for our opponent. Okay. So we're a little bit ahead in terms of objectives, and we've managed to get 1 damage on. So I feel happy, we're making progress. We're up to round 5, and he's still only bringing out 1 resource. Okay, let's draw 3 cards. And keep 2. We've got ILRs, a bloodthirsty action. Deal this card 1 damage to deal 1 damage to an enemy. Oh, I like that. That's a good one. Shadow of Solomon. When you deal damage to a frontier, deal 2 extra damage. And then here's to gut. Move 1 Ottoman unit. Wow. Wow, big cards. Now, we've got to throw 1 away and think what we're going to do. Maybe these guys and not these guys. This is tough, isn't it? This is a nice event to keep, but is it too early? And now we've found one of the generals as well. He's got this commander ability just like Mustafa. Now I'm really pained to make some decisions. What would you do?